So I have the pleasure of introducing you now to Dr. Dan Harrison, who is the CEO, founder, and developer of Harrison Assessments. He has a diverse background in mathematics, personality theory, counseling psychology, and organizational psychology. His 30 years of experience and ongoing worldwide travel gives him direct involvement and exposes him to the current and ever-changing needs to assess people in the workplace in a wide variety of cultures. Dan, what have you learned from working virtually for so many years? And how has COVID-19 impacted you and your remote teams? That's a mouthful.
Okay, great question. Yeah, actually, we've been doing this for about 28 years. Our team has grown, and so we've adjusted, ever adjusting to new challenges, but we have learned quite a lot. And it has a lot to do with how you manage your team and some of the things that you have in place to do it. First of all, one of the key principles that we use is getting people who are a good fit for the job in the first place. So you can imagine that if you have somebody who's not enjoying the job, not in a good fit for the job, it's going to be much more challenging for them to work remotely because they've got much more distractions. Even if I think about it myself, if I'm doing something that I really don't like doing, it's very hard for me to get myself to do it, especially if I've got lots of other interesting things to distract me along the way. So one of the keys is to get people who are really passionate about the job already, sort of intrinsically motivated. That's very, very important. Fortunately, that's part of our business is we measure how well people are going to be passionate about our job, and then we're able to get the right people. And that's worked really well. We've had very little turnover over a period of time, and people have it's worked very smoothly remotely. So that's probably the key thing. The other key issue is to get people to stay in close connection with people and make sure that we're aligned, that we're fulfilling their needs, their career needs, as well as they're fulfilling our needs and accomplishing what they need to accomplish for us. So it's really tracking a two-way relationship. That's very, very important also. So the really big challenge of working remotely is people have to stay motivated and over years, and they have to just keep going and sort of work through things and plow through things, and they have all kinds of things in their personal life that occurs, and they've got to be able to just sort of cut through that and stay focused when they're working, and that's your biggest challenge. So having a job fit and engagement is really important. It also really helps if people have the basic behavioral competencies to work remotely. And we measure those things as well. We look at, do they have the ability to communicate effectively? Do they take the kinds of initiative to work things out and make sure that they deliver? Do they have the drive to do it? Do they have the communications capability? And actually our internal team has worked extremely well. Just given all of those things in place, we have a very, very effective internal interactions. And even with the COVID, we have had virtually no issues at all with the impact of the COVID in terms of our team productivity and our team relationships. So it proves that when you have those things in place, it's very, very useful and very, very important. So that's one of the keys, or the keys really to doing it straight away. It's the foundation that you really need. Now, we also work with distributors and partners around the world, 70 different countries, and we don't have as much direct communication with them. I mean, we do, but it's not as well organized. And one of the things that we found when the COVID hit is that people were much more nervous, and we got, it was not as smooth as it usually is, and it took a lot more thinking about, okay, how are we going to get in better communication with the team? Because as you can imagine, I mean, people have all kinds of problems personally. They've got their kids at home, or they've got relatives who are sick, or some cases relatives who have died. And you have a huge challenge to deal with those things. And, you know, understandably, people are more agitated, and communications come back that are more blunt. People are more nervous and demanding. And you know, part of it at this time is just recognizing that, okay, that's the case. And there's a good reason why there's some of that disturbance. And the solution to that is really to get in communication and, you know, establish a better communication, make sure people understand the direction that we're going in, what we're doing to respond, how they can participate in that. So that's been, you know, challenging, but worked out quite well. As soon as we got in better communication with the people who are sort of not in the core group, then it started working much better.
So I would say a lesson that you got from, in fact, a benefit you got from COVID-19 was an awareness of the value of an increase in communication. And I would say that goes across the board, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, so we've actually, you know, really started putting in place different things to improve that. Just recognizing that how important that is, especially in this time of you know, when there's a crisis and there's things that change fast. You know, things change quickly in a crisis because you have to respond to it. So, and also, you know, we just needed to be tolerant to, you know, understanding, okay, people have situations that are difficult, and we have to understand that they're going to be emotional, and that's what we're going to have to deal with. And on our side, we try to be transparent about, you know, what we're doing, and understand people have their own fears, and craft a good direction, increase the communication. And that goes a really long way.
So I would say one of the things that you pointed to is that it does work out on the long term, that if you were considering working virtually over a long term, that in fact, when other disturbances come in, there would be less disruption.
Yes. Yes, exactly. If you have the right team in place to start with, and you have the right established communication and patterns, then it's very smooth, and it in fact works just as good as if you're sitting in the office together.
And today they talk about that as the cadence, right? The communication cadence. What is required for you to be able to be effective with the people that are reporting to you? Could be different for you and different for me, but to pay attention to that is very important.
Yes, yes. We have basically 4 key principles that we use and that we really try to abide by and build into everybody's behavior and into the culture. The first one is to be curious and provide clarity. So it's a combination of, you know, looking at different things, being open, being curious about it, but also then giving clarity about what we're seeing, what we're doing, and communicating clearly. That in itself is very useful, and it's something that we can strive for all the time. The next one is to seek improvement, but without blame or defensiveness. And, you know, because it's very easy, especially in a crisis situation, for people to say, well, this problem is your fault, or you didn't do this right, or you didn't do that right. But really, it's really a matter of just trying to get improvement. So establishing in everybody's mind, this is a real key principle that we want to follow, is that, okay, let's keep improving, but it's not a matter of, okay, whose fault is it or whatever. Let's get the communication, improve the communication, and then establish, you know, how we can do that together. So that's the second key principle. And the third one is be truthful and respectful. So say the truth, but also be respectful at the same time. That one gets really challenged when you're in a crisis, and so, you know, because people understandably are nervous. But really important key thing to establish, because this is what helps your long-term relationships to grow and trust to grow. is very important, because working remotely involves a lot of trust. There's no question about it. And then the fourth one and the last one is to seek alignment and better cooperation. So how do we align with each other? How do we meet their mutual needs? And that's a continual process. So I think I could sum it up by saying that remote working is really an extension of good management practices to start with.
Awesome. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And I get the idea that if you bring curiosity, you'll ask better questions. And that's something I know you're very good at. So I appreciate that a great deal. Are we thinking about the right thing? Are we talking about the right thing? Are we inquiring appropriately to get us to the next place we need to go?
Yeah.
So I thank you for your time and for your willingness to be with us today. Appreciate it a great deal.
You're welcome.
Any last thought before we end?
Well, just keep working at it, because all you're really doing when you're working virtually is you're just shifting the environment a bit. But you need to have in place pretty much everything that you do already, and it's a matter of just extending that and practice. And once you do it, it works really well. And one of the key advantages is that you get a lot of retention. I mean, one of the reasons why we have virtually zero turnover over many, many years, I mean, people who stayed with us for a long, long time, is because they like working virtually, and they really like working from home. And it really helps you, once you get established a really good practice, it helps you to retain employees.
Perfect. That's an inspiring thought. We'll end right there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.